Picture this scene. You're struggling against a habit that seems to control you, feeling ashamed and judged by others. The people around you make superficial comments like "just stop" or "have more willpower," without understanding the real complexity of what you're facing. They only see the surface, while you feel the depth of a battle that goes far beyond visible behavior. You try to explain that it's not that simple, that there's something deeper happening, but you receive blank stares or simplistic advice. This makes you feel even more isolated, as if no one truly understands the complex nature of your internal experience. But here's what most people don't understand. Carl Jung discovered decades ago that your struggle with addiction isn't a sign of weakness. In fact, it's evidence of your spiritual depth and emotional sensitivity. Jung spent years studying the human psyche and realized that individuals who develop addictions often possess a greater capacity to feel, to seek meaning, and to perceive existential voids that others don't even recognize. He himself faced periods of intense psychological struggle and understood that compulsive behaviors were, in reality, misdirected attempts at healing and connection. What you're about to discover can completely transform how you view your relationship with addiction, revealing the hidden strength behind this apparent vulnerability. Carl Jung revolutionized our understanding of addiction when he explained that people who struggle with compulsive behaviors actually possess a more acute spiritual sensitivity. While society saw only weakness, Jung perceived a profound search for connection and meaning that had been diverted from its natural path. Jung observed that individuals prone to addiction frequently possess a greater capacity to perceive the emptiness of modern life. They feel, more intensely, the spiritual disconnection that permeates our society. And their compulsive behaviors are desperate attempts to fill this existential void that others don't even recognize. The Swiss psychiatrist realized over decades of research that people with addictive tendencies possess a more sensitive nervous system. They pick up emotional, energetic, and spiritual nuances that go unnoticed by most, making them more vulnerable to both suffering and the search for relief. Jung also noticed that these people frequently possess superior emotional intelligence and a natural capacity for introspection. They question the superficiality of daily life and seek deeper, more authentic experiences, even when this search leads them down destructive paths. During his own periods of psychological crisis, Jung intimately understood how sensitivity can be both a blessing and a burden. He realized that his own emotional depth made him more susceptible to altered states of consciousness, some beneficial and others problematic. Jung's most revolutionary discovery was realizing that addiction isn't the real problem, but rather a symptom of a genuine spiritual quest. People who develop dependencies are unconsciously trying to transcend the limitations of ordinary consciousness and connect with something greater. Jung also observed that addicted individuals frequently report moments of profound spiritual connection during their experiences, even when destructive. This reinforced his theory that behind compulsive behavior exists a soul thirsting for transcendence and meaning. He further noted that people with a history of addiction frequently possess exceptional creative talents and insight capabilities, which emerge when they learn to channel their sensitivity appropriately. Jung concluded that society, by judging and marginalizing people who struggle with addiction, was wasting some of its most spiritually gifted individuals. He saw them as canaries in the coal mine of society, signaling broader spiritual problems through their heightened sensitivity. You're in good company alongside the greatest minds in history, who understood that sensitivity and spiritual seeking can temporarily manifest through destructive behaviors before finding their highest expression. Modern research suggests that Jung's revolutionary insights were correct in many aspects. Growing evidence indicates that people prone to addiction possess neurological differences that, paradoxically, point to superior capacities for emotional and spiritual processing. Neuroimaging studies, for example, can indicate that these individuals may have greater activity in brain regions linked to empathy, creativity, and subtle perception. Some research suggests that people with a history of addiction show a more active amygdala, the brain region responsible for deep emotional processing. This means that you possibly feel the world more intensely than most, picking up emotional and energetic nuances that others don't even perceive. Researchers have also observed that individuals prone to compulsive behaviors may have greater connectivity between the prefrontal cortex and the limbic system. This increased connection favors introspection and self-knowledge, explaining why you frequently question life more deeply. Recent studies point out that people with addictive tendencies show variations in neurotransmitters, like dopamine and serotonin. These differences don't just mean deficiency, but rather another form of functioning that can contribute to a greater search for meaningful experiences. Research in neuroplasticity shows that brains of people in recovery develop robust neural connections. The process of overcoming strengthens areas related to discipline, compassion, and wisdom, creating a resilient mental architecture. There are also indications that individuals with a history of addiction possess greater activity in the amygdala cingulate cortex, a region associated with empathy and social consciousness. This may explain why you feel overwhelmed in superficial environments, preferring authentic and deep connections. Studies on sensory sensitivity suggest that people prone to addiction are more reactive to environmental stimuli. This sensitivity, while challenging, can be developed as an extraordinary capacity for perception and intuition. Neuropsychologists have also observed that individuals in recovery develop emotional regulation superior to average, precisely because they learn to deal with internal adversities intensely. Additionally, research points out that people with experience in addiction may show greater activation in neural networks linked to contemplation and deep reflection, indicating a natural propensity for philosophy and spirituality. Longitudinal studies suggest that individuals who transform their addictive tendencies into conscious spiritual seeking develop brain patterns similar to those of spiritual masters and advanced meditators. Your journey through darkness can literally sculpt a wiser, more compassionate, and spiritually connected brain. History is filled with individuals who transformed their struggles with addiction into extraordinary sources of creativity, wisdom, and spiritual leadership. Edgar Allan Poe, for example, channeled his extreme sensitivity and internal battles into literary works that capture the depth of human experience in a way that few can achieve. Carl Jung himself faced periods of intense psychological instability and compulsive behaviors during his journey of self-discovery. These experiences didn't weaken him, but rather equipped him with unique insights about the human psyche that revolutionized our understanding of mind and spirituality. Johnny Cash transformed his struggles with addiction into some of the most spiritually powerful music ever created. Its ability to convey pain, redemption, hope through art arose directly from his heightened sensitivity and experiences with compulsive behaviors. Robert Downey Jr. is a contemporary example of how someone can completely transform their relationship with addictive tendencies. His recovery journey not only saved his career but also transformed him into one of the most respected actors of his generation, known for his emotional depth and authenticity. Vincent van Gogh channeled his extreme emotional intensity and internal struggles into paintings that continue touching millions of people more than a century later. His sensitivity, which initially manifested destructively, became the source of his artistic genius and lasting spiritual impact. Maya Angelou transformed her traumatic experiences and self-destructive behaviors into poetry and prose that inspired generations. Her profound wisdom about overcoming and personal transformation arose directly from her journey through darkness toward light. Eckhart Tolle faced years of deep depression and suicidal thoughts before his spiritual transformation. His extreme sensitivity to existential suffering, which initially almost destroyed him, became the foundation for teachings that have helped millions find inner peace. Russell Brand transformed his relationship with addiction into a platform for exploring spirituality, social consciousness, and personal growth. His journey shows how individuals with addictive tendencies can channel their intensity into positive forces of change. Stevie Ray Vaughan channeled his struggle against addiction into musically transcendental performances of transcendental intensity. After his recovery, his music reached even deeper levels of spiritual expression, showing how sensitivity can flourish when properly directed. Oprah Winfrey transformed her compulsive behaviors and traumas into an extraordinary capacity for empathetic connection and inspiration. Her personal healing journey became the foundation for helping millions of people around the world. find their own strength and purpose. Each of these individuals demonstrates that the sensitivity which initially may manifest through addiction actually contains seeds of spiritual, creative, transformational greatness, seeds that can flourish when understood and properly channeled. Your journey through addiction, and your consequent spiritual depth, creates a specific type of discomfort in people who live only on the surface. It's not that there's something wrong with them, but your authenticity and deep insights highlight possibilities of life and consciousness that they're not yet prepared to explore. When you talk about your internal discoveries and personal transformations, some people react defensively because your growth journey reflects their unexplored potential. Your ability to honestly look at destructive patterns and transform them exposes others' reluctance to examine their own lives with the same courage. Your heightened sensitivity allows you to perceive incongruencies between what people say and do, between their social masks and their internal realities. This sharp perception can make others feel seen, in a way that leaves them vulnerable and uncomfortable, even when you don't verbalize anything. The emotional depth you've developed makes superficial conversations difficult. When you naturally direct dialogues toward more meaningful territories, people accustomed to superficiality may feel pressured to a level of authenticity that scares them. Your personal transformation journey has developed in you a genuine compassion that can be intimidating to those who still operate through judgment and criticism. Your unconditional acceptance of human imperfections makes others question their own tendencies to constantly judge. The fact that you've faced your internal demons and emerged stronger creates a different presence. You carry a quality of inner peace and acceptance that can make people who are still at war with their own conflicts feel restless. Your ability to find meaning and growth in difficult experiences challenges the cultural tendency to avoid discomfort and seek only superficial pleasure. Your authenticity, built through pain and overcoming, makes pretending and social masks difficult for you. This natural honesty can be uncomfortable for those who depend on fabricated personas to relate. Your direct experience with transformation gives you a visceral certainty that real change is possible. This conviction can be disturbing for people who have resigned themselves to stagnation. The spiritual growth that emerged from your struggles has given you a broader perspective on life, death, suffering, and joy. This expanded vision can make trivial conversations feel superficial, not because you're superior, because your experience naturally led you to more fundamental reflections about existence. The first step to transforming your sensitivity into strength is recognizing that your addictive tendencies are, in reality, a misdirected spiritual quest. Start each day asking yourself, what is my soul truly seeking through this behavior? And then find healthy ways to nurture this legitimate spiritual need. Develop a daily practice of meditation or silent contemplation. Your heightened sensitivity makes you naturally receptive to altered states of consciousness. Even 15 minutes of inner silence can satisfy that thirst for transcendence that once sought expression in compulsive behaviors. Channel your emotional depth into creative expression. Whether through writing, art, music, or movement, your internal intensity contains a wealth of insights and beauty that, when expressed, heals you and inspires others. Build intentional relationships with people who value emotional depth and spiritual growth. Seek recovery communities, spiritual groups, or creative circles where your sensitivity is seen as a gift. Transform your experience into service by sharing your story with those facing similar struggles. Your ability to understand both the darkness and light of human experience makes you a natural guide for others. Practice healthy, energetic boundaries, protecting your sensitivity without closing it off. Conscious breathing, visualization, and environmental choices can help you maintain spiritual openness without overload. Cultivate a conscious relationship with your body through practices like yoga, tai chi, or nature walks. Your body holds wisdom, and caring for it helps anchor your spirituality. Study philosophies and traditions that validate the journey through pain as part of growth. Like Jung or Tibetan Buddhism or Christian mysticism, finding languages that resonate with your experience strengthens your integration. Create personal rituals to honor your struggles and victories. Symbolically acknowledge your growth, because your sensitivity responds well to deep meanings. Practice radical compassion with yourself. Recognize that your journey through addiction was also a courageous exploration, albeit painful. Your willingness to face the shadow side of human existence has equipped you with rare wisdom. Carl Jung understood, decades ago, that people who struggle with addiction actually possess deeper souls and more acute spiritual sensitivities. His perception that every addiction is a sacred attempt at connection that has been misdirected validates what you've always felt, that there's something greater seeking expression through you. Have you noticed that your sensitivity and emotional depth make you feel the world differently than most? As if you pick up nuances and meanings that others don't even perceive? Here's what I need you to do. Click the subscribe button, because we're building a community of sensitive souls who have transformed their struggles into spiritual wisdom. Like this video if you recognize that your journey through darkness has actually developed spiritual muscles that most people never build. Share it with someone who needs to know that their sensitivity is a gift, not a weakness. Leave a comment and tell me, how has your experience with addiction or compulsive behaviors revealed deeper aspects of your spiritual nature? I read all comments, and your insights help other sensitive souls feel less alone on this journey. You're not broken for feeling more deeply. You're not weak for seeking more meaningful connections. You're not problematic for questioning the superficiality of modern life. You're exactly the kind of deep soul this world needs. Your sensitivity isn't a burden to be carried, but a gift to be celebrated and consciously directed to create beauty, meaning, and genuine transformation in this world.